Hello there. This is going to be a pretty lengthy and interesting video, especially for those who have been around in Fortnite Save the World for a very long time, but probably not too long. Not before the Mythic Storm King debut, the E3 trailer reveal, nor the release of Battle Royale mode where things started to be in shambles for our beloved Save the World game mode. Because I know there are a lot of videos talking about that kind of topic already, and we know the current state of it. It was explained multiple times, so let's go ahead and just summarize the history of Save the World before we go to the main topic of this video. Let's not put this into too much detail. So, first off, in 2014, Epic Games had Save the World in the alpha build test. Only a few were able to play that time, and then later on, between 2015 and 16, the whole mechanics, UI, and gameplay got improved and stuff. A good bunch of updates, I'd say. And then 2017, Battle Royale was introduced, and Save the World is still in pay-to-play early access. A lot of people jumped into the hype train that time because you could play it for free. 2018 is when creative became a thing for players to customize their own maps and games for free as well, making both modes free to play with in-game cosmetics and purchases, literally burying Save the World due to it being paywalled. And a small interesting story of myself that year, since some of you might ask where was I in that time. Around that year, I started playing Fortnite after my cousins introduced me to it. To be honest, I wasn't super interested of PvP, but it's family. They wanted to play with me as a teammate in their squad. In my free time, I played a few games myself and wasn't really enthused. I was really close to quitting once and for all, but later on, Samsung slid me the one email that completely turned the tables and compellingly changed my gaming career, which is why I'm here. Glad I won't stick around in League of Legends being a toxic little Veigar main. In 2019, Chapter 2 came out, Mythic Storm King became a thing with the mythic weapons and the winter stuff, but the early access is still a thing in Save the World at that time. The free-to-play thing didn't happen, in which some of us and I totally understand. And now here's where things got interesting. In 2020, it finally got out of early access, Founders Pack stuff are gone, and they just simply say they finished the story of Save the World, and it is when they introduced Ventures and Superchargers, seasonal zones that are split to 5 throughout the year with various rewards that increases your stats by a small percentage. That same day, I started playing Save the World because it's cheaper. The very first Mel Team Leader pack, of course. Now, the rest is history from that year to this, 2024. We're not here to talk about how it really died out. The updates are dry as hell, or at a point where finding bugs are way fun than doing missions itself. We already know the state of Save the World at this point, now that the metaverse in Fortnite exists, Rocket Racing, LEGO Fortnite, and Fortnite Festival. Let's not forget about the UEFN maps, but I don't really care much about those as well. What a lot of you guys are curious or don't know about, whether you're a founder, a long-time Save the World player, or new to playing Save the World, everyone tends to increase their power levels, since that is kind of like the essence of Save the World. You need to increase it to unlock more missions that are harder and give more resources, filling up your survivor squads by getting mythic leads and legendary survivors all the way up to power level 130. That's at the point when you'll probably start supercharging them with survivor superchargers, which with those you can possibly go up to power level 145. So for every lead and survivor, you need 5 survivor superchargers each. Every squad needs 8 survivors, 1 lead, and 7 survivors. If you calculate all of that together, you need a total 320 whopping survivor superchargers. That is an absurd amount. Every venture season gives about 17 survivor superchargers with venture quests included. It rarely comes around in weekly challenges for 10 160 alerts, meaning that it'll take about 19 seasons, or maybe 18 if the weekly challenges gives as much. But yeah, 5 seasons is a year. That's nearly 4 years of grinding to the highest possible power level you can get in the game. Alright, what I did for so long, I finally reached power level 145 on my end, from 130 to 145. I added the extra 15 power levels in there, and it took me about 4 years, of course. Now, the very real question I've asked myself right after I finished the last venture grind, a funny thing, it's only 2 words. When you reach the max power level and you start asking yourself, I finally reached power level 145. Now what? Well, yeah, that actually is a very good question. After supercharging a whole squad, the weapons I always use, most traps, and the heroes I use a lot, what else can I do? Will I continue playing Ventures? Do I have to be optimistic that the Survivor squads might have an update sooner or later to make use of the extra Survivor superchargers later on? Or better yet, will there be a decline of players that will no longer play Save the World as much anymore now that reaching max power level is like the finish line of the race? There are so many questions that pops up into my mind for what a max power level person can do afterwards. But in general, it comes down to the choices you make. So from my experience after grinding Ventures until this point, well, it's either you quit or not. It's easier said than done, but no, I completely understand Save the World has been having very stale updates, rarely any new weapon sets like the invasion or the primal weapons. The release of the plasmatic discharger really turned the tides in the game. The mythic Storm King and Frost Knight became too easy with it, creating a new meta to kill big targets. On the other hand, a few new heroes that kind of feels like they don't really make a big impact to the game after the mode left early access, but there are good ones like Chaos Agent or Clip that somewhat made it appealing, but after those two heroes, it starts to get a little dry. But despite all that mentioned, I know I'm being too hopeful, but there are still things you can do in Save the World even after hitting the max power level. So here are the options that you can do in Fortnite Save the World once you hit power level 145. So first of all, Save the World has a vast amount of heroes and weapons that you can try and set up extraordinary loadouts in high power level missions, especially in the 160s. So why not do things for fun instead of sticking with the meta? Having a Xenon bow and discharger already at hand constantly can, of course, become a little boring when you run missions that way, unless you're trying to like speed through missions and stuff. So if you feel like going out of your way and trying new loadouts, you certainly can. There are plenty of fun loadouts out there you can create while also leveling up weapons you have not tried in your entire life yet. I don't like being very specific, but I'll put a few examples that you might get an idea of it or a certain concept if you want to do it your own way. You can build an infinite heavy attack build with anti-cuddle Sarah as lead for pretty much any melee weapons that can like dash or spin continuously, the Spectral Blade, Husk Grinder, Ear Splitter, Steam Thrasher, and many other melees. It can be pretty fun to kill groups of husks with those kinds of weapons you haven't tried. Another one is the Warcry no ammo consumption build with Star Spangled Headhunter for pretty much any ranged weapons. If you're down on a lot of materials and can't craft that many ammo, you can consider building a big brain soldier loadout that can make things cheaper. As a soldier with Warcry, you will also have an increased weapon damage that makes a lot of difference. So not just loadouts, but weapons as well. Again, I'll drop a few examples. I've been told not too long ago that the tiny instrument of death can be fun to mess around. Well, sorry, console players. Other pistols like the Jack's Revenge, Steamroller, and the Paper Shredder, they do heavy damage for such small one-handed weapons. They're really fun. The burst weapons like the Trinity and the Razor Blade can deal pretty decent damage against mist monsters. Shotguns with big spreads like the Big Shot, Maverick, Taco Shadow, and many more. Sorry, I still don't know how to pronounce it properly to this day. There are so many weapons in Save the World that you can try playing with. So many options you can do. You want to try a different playstyle here and there, what unique loadout you want to try in missions, and of course, running funny loadouts that are just for laughs and messing around with enemies, staggering mist monsters, many more. It's way more fun to find some cool loadouts that are not generally used and whatnot. Trust me, you'll have a lot of fun than running around as Link's Cassandra with soaring mantis the entire time. The next one on the list is challenges. If you have any missing challenges that you haven't finished yet, make sure you get to do them. Getting the banners from those challenge quests can be pretty easy by doing very simple tasks, but it's quite repetitive sometimes because it'll take you a very long time to earn them. But it'll be worth it at the end once you get the hang of it. I still have like 14 out of 1,000 Play with Others missions completed. That challenge is like a torture, especially if you have to deal with Stonewood Andes dropping their stuff almost all the time. It's not like I'm gonna get that one anytime soon. There's one that you need to save 10,000 survivors, another is building 500,000 structures, one that requires you to eliminate about 20,000 mist monsters, and many more challenges if you haven't done much in the game. I know a lot of you are leaning on to that Play with Others banner because that one, in my opinion, takes the longest to earn. So yeah, there's an option there if you are willing to sacrifice your sanity for. Alright, so challenge quests aside, there are more than just that. You know, every season we get to have at least one limited time event that we can play and earn a lot of tickets from it. At this point, you know what I'm talking about. Hit the road, Frost Night, dungeons, Survive the Horde, and some of your least favorite war games. Now, let's say that you're already power level 145 and save the world. Why not make some sort of fun challenges for ourselves to make these limited events a bit interesting? For example, getting the fastest time in dungeons without a minigun soldier. We rely too much with miniguns and Carbide's lefty and righty ability, so why not make a challenge to see if you can get through easily without a soldier? Another one is Zero Build Frost Night, where you just don't build or place traps at all, keeping your build score 0 and actively shoot every wave with those guns blazing. It's actually a very difficult challenge, and I'm still salty to this day that I haven't completed it. And many more that you can think of. As long as you want to make a challenge for yourself and have fun in such ways, you absolutely can. The third option on the list is generally nice. You help out players and save the world. I've been having a lot of people approaching me and thanking me for the Twine Peaks and Kenny Valley Storm Shield Defense series, even though it's really old, and to this day I am very happy they managed to get through those with my help. So I think helping out players that are in need of assistance to progress through the game fairly really gives a good feeling. Not just the Storm Shield defenses, but like the missions in general. It can be Ventures, the 160s, Mythic Storm King, and many more. It is a co-op game for a reason, not a competitive battle royale match. Keep in mind, this does not mean carrying at all. Carrying has a completely different meaning of helping. You're basically playing the game for them, and they don't get to experience what you do in the mission at all. To simply put it in a way, they spend their money on a game for someone else to play their game they spent on. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, hence the reason why I gladly stopped myself from doing a lot of kami carry and progressing those people to skip so many quests and missions. It really kills the potential of Save the World, in my honest opinion. I do understand how repetitive it can be. So many people don't like repeating missions again and again. So yeah, helping out and teaching players how to do certain things in missions and save the world will keep them engaged, hanging out, and enjoy as much time possible. Even at max power level, consider helping out some players out there sometime. Now that we've come to the fourth option on this list, and it's most likely everyone's favorite, endurance and building. Endurance is a very, very long defense after you finished all 10 Stormfield defenses. It can be in any zone you want. Stonewood, Candy Valley, Twine, it doesn't really matter. You're maxed out already. So, endurance. It consists with 30 waves and each gets progressively harder. Some of those waves could be War Games modifier and it can get tricky to keep your trap tunnels in check without having them damaged. So perhaps giving yourself some time building your own endurance, trying to perfect them at a point you could possibly have it run at its own course, like basically AFK or whatnot. A lot of people don't like sitting in an ongoing mission for straight 2.5 hours, so might as well give yourself a chance to try out endurance and Try building your trap tunnels. Keep running it until it works out in your favor. So, like, if you fail at a certain wave, you can fix the build and try again, and so on. Just letting you know, you don't have to rush it. Endurance is never going anywhere. It's not an event thing, so you have all the time you need to make your base work. So that's for the endurance side of things. Let's talk about building in regular missions, defense missions to be exact. You have a huge space to try new types of build, like self-proclaimed builds around the objectives, rather than just walls and floors, or tunneling husks into one place to another for unique trapping. Try out recycling pathways, or kite them into death chambers. Or you can still stay in your storm shield and just spend your building materials creating some cool arts you want to show off. So many things you can do with building and save the world. Like, it's literally called Fortnite. Really original, right? The last and a fun one, collecting llamas and opening them. We all know playing the limited time modes and perhaps just running alert missions give you event tickets for the seasonal llamas. Opening those llamas are actually fun. You get some cool event schematics and heroes that don't come around very often. It's a good method if you want to increase your collection book level for the most part, and also if you're looking for manuals and weapon designs by recycling multiple copies of what you've been getting from the llamas. What I mean by collecting llamas also includes mini llamas. The more you get those mini llamas, you'll also get like a lot of gold. After 4 years of grinding to max power level, for sure you'd have a very good amount of it. At any time you want, consider opening them and see how much gold you can get out of all the mini llamas you've collected so far. I mention collecting llamas on this list because a lot of people find that pretty satisfying to watch and see what loot is in the llamas. I already talked just a little bit about leveling up your collection book, so yeah, perhaps leveling it is also something you can do after reaching power level 145. It'll take you so much resources, including the evolution materials and manuals, to level up every single thing in the book after hitting max power level. I do expect you have nearly everything that is obtainable in the game. There are a few exceptions on some heroes and weapons because they're locked behind a paywall, which are the starter packs. So if you missed one, you won't get to entirely complete the collection book, which kinda sucks, I know. But if you don't want to count those, count the ones that you might have missed, like some of the expansion heroes that don't come around in alerts and llamas, for example. But just to let you know, it is somewhat expensive to research things unless you don't really care that much and blow all your fluxes and manuals or designs. Perhaps use a voucher on the schematics that are not usually in the event store or not sticking around for like very long during the seasons and whatnot. What matters most is that you get to level up your collection book as an endgame thing to do and save the world. Oh, by the way, if you do get to have some of those extra survivor superchargers and you're not that optimistic about Epic making a major change or an update on the current survivor squads anytime soon, you can possibly use those for your slotted epic or legendary survivors, or the mythic leads that have been in your book for so long. So, yeah, at least there's a little bit of use instead of sitting in your inventory. But just in case they do, you are always free to take them back by unslotting. That is pretty much all I can think of what you're able to do after reaching 145 and save the world. But here's where I kinda might go a little sidetracked of the list because they're not Save the World related, but it's mostly my personal preference, and it caught most of my attention to it, so I will make those a little short. Now that Fortnite is considered a hub of games instead of just a third-person shooter, a big free-to-play metaverse, I could probably say try out LEGO Fortnite. I actually find that mode extremely fun. It's an open world survival game where you can go around, explore, farm resources, craft tools and weapons, and build up your village on each biome. There's a sandbox option for this game mode too that you can treat it as creative. It's actually pretty cool. I might think about making a series for it sooner or later. Next one is Festival Main Stage. Some of you might not know me much, but some of you do. I am really into music, like a lot. I am a concert junkie myself too, IRL. So this rhythm game mode really appeals so much to me. I enjoy jamming to popular songs and also play the ones that I don't even know existed. As soon as I got a little better with this rock band game mode, I tried to play on expert to add up a little difficulty to it. Every once in a week, there are new jam tracks that I will always give it a go. So, yeah, if you are also into music, this is a great game mode. Now, that should be all of what you can do after hitting power level 145 and save the world. I know the previous two options were not relevant, but like I said, they are my personal preferences. Like, they're just my 2 cents. Aside those two, even when we reach that point, we still have a lot of fun things we can do. But after doing all of that, there comes down to one question once more. What will happen next in Save the World? Well, it did had a really good potential to be a fun zombie survival co-op game, whether you're a Save the World enthusiast, a beginner, or just an average player. We might have to accept the fate of this game going downhill slowly but surely. If you don't know, we are getting updates, well, mostly for bug fixes here and there. Rarely there could be a new weapon or hero, maybe, we don't know. You can really tell how quiet Save the World has been by all the recycling events and season we've been getting over and over. Just right after that one blog post talking about the upcoming state of Save the World back in 2020, it was bound to happen. It's their game. They can do whatever they want with it. To make one of my controversial takes heard by all of you, don't take this as an offense, but at this point, I'll have to be brutally honest and blatantly say Epic is just squeezing the rest of the milk out of the Save the World pack that people are buying in the item shop nowadays. Like, it's literally buried way at the bottom, which is kind of sad. To be fair, I wouldn't exactly say Epic is abandoning the game mode that they developed like a decade ago. Sometimes there are like a good amount of concurrent players playing Save the World for a time being. It goes up and down, kind of a normal thing, unless they decided to bring back the Fortnite OG season again to spike up the player count. Maybe, yeah, you never know. But anyways, whatever the future of Save the World is going to be, for better or worse, they might do a major change, they might not. We still won't know to this day. So, if you have reached the max power level, it all comes down to your choice. If you want to continue playing, go for it. If you feel like 145 is enough and you can't continue anymore, again, it's all up to you. And that should be all for this video. Consider subscribing to my channel if you enjoy the videos I make. Any comments you want to drop about reaching the max power level or the state of Save the World, anything in mind, go right ahead and speak your thoughts down below. Feel free to use my creator code when buying anything cool in the Fortnite item shop or in the Epic Game Store when buying full games and DLCs. Take it easy, take care of yourself, and love yourself.